Good morning, little crafters. How is everyone today? Elizabeth here with a cultural appreciation lesson. Today we're going to be talking about Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. My dog's coming down the stairs right now. I am live today from my hallway in my house because this is where I set up my ofrenda. I'm just going to see if any comments start coming in so I know this is working properly. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay. If you're watching live and you can comment, then please give us your name and candidate number. If you're watching on YouTube or watching on a replay, please give us a like and subscribe. And let's see what's going on. So today we're going to, comments coming in, so everything seems to be working. Today we're going to be talking about Dia de los Muertos. It is AQA 119759, Introduction to Day of the Dead. Things that you need to bring are imagination, color and life, and happy memories, because that is what Day of the Dead is all about. Okay, I can see you guys this morning. Good morning, Rosalie. Good morning, Dylan, Bethan, Evie. Good morning. I can see comments. Lovely. So today what we're going to learn about is what Day of the Dead is and why it is celebrated, how to make an ofrenda, and I'll show you mine behind me. I'll make myself bigger in a second. That incorporates food, which we consider earth, water, drinks, that's the other element. Fire, we tend to use candles, and wind, we use papel de picado, and I'll show you some examples of that. And the symbolism behind Day of the Dead for Chicanos. So I can see more people joining me. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Isabel and Eva. Good morning, Izzy. So Day of the Dead. Let me make myself bigger and come back to my ofrenda so that you can see everything that I'm going to talk about today. Coming up here. Okay, so this is an example of my ofrenda. Now, I'm going to warn you first that my ofrenda is going to be different than quite a lot of people. If you go to Mexico, across Mexico, there'll be lots and lots of different types. So different regions will have different examples of what should be incorporated, what shouldn't be incorporated. Because I'm from the United States, and because I'm from Texas, that has its own region and its own things that they incorporate. And then there's also the difference between those who are religious and those who are not. So religious will incorporate different elements than the non-religious. Good morning. You can see some of you. Sophie and Jacob here. We are cowering in the only corner with Wi-Fi. Okay, well, hopefully it's enough for you to see this lesson. Okay, so let's start. What Day of the Dead is and how it is celebrated. Day of the Dead is a celebration of your ancestors. It's as simple as that. I'll go through a really quick history lesson. It's thousands of years, and I'm going to bring it down to just like a minute or two. So originally, Mexico was Aztec, wasn't it? And that was about 3,000 years ago. And the Aztecs celebrated death differently. They didn't view it as sad. It was part of the circle of life, and it was part of the universe and everything they saw in it. So they celebrated that. And they did rituals for the dead. They had their own goddess who was called Lady of the Dead, and she had her own name, which is a really long Nahuatl word. And what they would do is in the autumn, not in the autumn, in August, so in the August season, they would do a celebration for that. And that celebration meant that they took food, water, and tools and offered them to their ancestors or to the people who had passed, and they'd offer them to the Lady of the Dead, the goddess, and she would allow ancestors to travel back and forth to come to our land and to go back to where they were supposed to be in the land of the dead. And that was something that the Aztecs believed. So that was 3,000 years ago. Meanwhile, over here in Europe, you guys had your Celtic pagans, didn't you? And Samhain. So you had autumn celebrations of the dead where you had bonfires and bonfires and dancing and feasts. And a lot of that was absorbed into Roman Catholicism later on. So in Roman Catholicism, there is the All Souls, isn't there, in November, the beginning of November, right after Halloween. And a lot of those pagan beliefs were brought into that. And then what happened to bring the European stuff to Mexico is that the Spanish conquistadors arrived in Mexico. And so they brought Catholicism to Mexico, and they brought this autumn festival. So Mexicans now have combined the two. And because it's a combination of pagan stuff, so your pagan elements with earth, wind, fire, and water, as well as the original Aztec beliefs, you're going to see something called a mix. And in Mexico, that's called mestizo. So it's a mix of different traditions. Some of it will be related to the pagans, some of it will be related to the Aztecs. And for those who are still Roman Catholic in Mexico, they'll bring in some of those elements as well. But it originally originated in Mexico as an Aztec tradition, and it was in August instead of the autumn. But with the conquering of Mexico, it became a autumn thing now in Mexico. Where it's celebrated in Mexico, and it's also celebrated in the south of the United States, where a lot of Mexicans reside. And that's why I celebrate it, and my family always has. So that's outcome one, what it is, why we celebrate it, and where it's celebrated. Outcome two asks you to describe what ofrenda is and what it symbolizes. Well, mine is back here. So I'm going to scoot a little bit farther back so that you can see it better. My ofrenda has 3 layers to it, and that's how my family's normally done it. But if you go to different areas of Mexico, like I said before, it will be completely different based on the region you are. Some only do 2 layers, and they'll do 1 layer that's actually on the ground, and then they'll build an altar on top of that. So they'll have an earth layer, and then they'll have a cielo or sky layer. And that's just for, like, the ones at home will be 2 layers. The ones that are normally out in public and the really, really big celebrations in Mexico will have up to 7 layers. And that's because that's how the Aztecs did it. Their belief was that there were 7 layers that you had to get through once you died to get to the afterlife. So they do a layer of 7. And then others do a layer of 3, like you see here. And that's where my region was. It was layers of 3. There are my 3 layers. The way that I do it, the way that my family's done it, is you have your under earth layer. So this is the layer where my family who has passed would be. And I want to entice them from that layer to travel up to my layer. So the top layer will be the layer that where I am. And so I'm trying to bring them to my home. So you can see a house here. I'm offering them music, and I'll explain the flowers too. I'm offering them music, and then I'm also going to be offering them food and drinks. And then this middle layer is where I have all my family members. So that's all their photographs of everyone who are my ancestors or people that were directly related to me and not far back in my ancestry. And all of them, I put their pictures there. So those are the people I'm trying to call from the under layer up to my layer so that they can come visit me. Day of the Dead is celebrated where I'm from. We put it, our altars start putting them together now. And on October 31st, which is Halloween, that night at midnight, it becomes Day of the Dead. November 1st is the day for children. And then November 2nd for us is the day for adults to visit. And then the night of November 2nd, we pull all of this down. Other areas, again, will do it differently. And some start it before Halloween and have actually like a day for pets. They'll have a day for people who are missing. They'll have a day for people who are unknown to them that aren't their ancestors. What sort of food and drink would you give them? I'll explain. Yeah, I'm going to go through the things that we offer. Let's see. Hello, Jacob, Chester, Felix. Nice to see you. Hello, Summer. I can see more comments coming in. Okay, so right now there's no food or drink on here because it's not the right day for me. I do that on the night of Halloween, and then it'll stay out for November 1st and 2nd. What we put out. So you'll see I have plates ready. So I have some plates here, and then I have really small plates. These are pottery that I got in Mexico. So I have some really small ones where I can put small things, and then I'll bring out drinks. And I'll have glasses of different drinks here, depending on who I'm trying to reference. So, for example, I have my great-grandparents, right? These are my great-grandparents. And I have another great-grandparent back there from my grandmother's side. I have, let's see, this is my grandfather when he was young. Here is, pull some of these down for you so you can see. So here is my grandfather and my 2 uncles. These are the ones that I'm mostly celebrating this year because I miss them so much. So for them, I will put out the food and drink that they loved. And for us, that was Mexican food or Tex-Mex. So I'm going to make arroz con pollo, which is Mexican chicken rice with chicken. It translates to, but it's spicy with tomato-based sauce. I will make beans. I will make tortillas. I've already made tamales, which is our autumn food, and those men absolutely love tamales. So I'll make all of this food and just put a little bit of each one out, except tamales, which are larger. So tamales are corn masa, and inside is some meat, and it's spiced up with chilies and cumin and oregano and all sorts of things. And I'll put that on the big plate. Drinks, well, they were men. They liked their alcohol. So there'll be margaritas, there'll be tequila, there'll be bourbon, there'll be water. You always have a glass of water out. A lot of cultures do pan de muerto, which you'll see is at the end of the actual list for your outcomes, which is a type of bread that's flavored with orange and sometimes aniseed. And the orange is made as a glaze on top of the bread, and you make bone shapes. I'm not a very good baker, so I don't make pan de muerto. But I like to have it when it's available in Texas or Mexico. It tastes really good dipped in hot chocolate. I don't know if I'll attempt it this year or not. I don't normally, because it's not something I'm very capable at with baking. I'm a good cook, but I can't bake. So these are the layers that I do. Again, other people do different ones. The ones who are more religious, this will be hell. This will be purgatory, and that's heaven. And you'll be decorating according to that. Other elements that I put in an ofrenda. So if you can see, this is my bottom layer where I believe that they are. And I'm trying to call them up through this layer to come visit me. So this bottom layer is all things that are related to death, but I'm trying to entice them out. So the stuff that comes out from my ofrenda here, these are going to be my offerings, because I want them to be able to find these when they come visit. So for that, you have things like these are supposed to be, you guys call them African marigolds. They're actually from Mexico, so I'm not sure where the African part came from. But these, in the original language of Mexico, are called cempasúchil. Cempasúchil. And that's our marigolds. This is the flower for Day of the Dead. And there's a number of reasons. One, because it's blooming this time of year. Two, because it's orange. And the Aztecs believed that orange was a color that the dead could see. So you will see lots and lots of orange. And even in Mexico, they make big trails of the cempasúchil on the ground to lead their loved ones back to their altars. So these are very, very popular. And you'll see I have lots of orange. I have fruits of the time. I also have a pumpkin here. Thank you, Charlie, for bringing this over. My son and his best friend came over and helped decorate some of this. So this is a pumpkin. Again, orange color is very, very needed to bring your loved ones home. And that's why pan de muerto is also flavored of orange, because that was a scent and a color that the dead supposedly can see. The other thing that you might notice are my monarch butterflies. So I have butterflies here. And for anyone who did the butterfly units with us, you'll remember that this is the time of the year where they migrate back to Mexico. And so the Mexicans saw that as a sign that their loved ones were going to come back soon. So monarch butterflies come back after the butterfly month. They are part of our season. Other thing that you can see here are calaveras. So that is outcome 3 now. Calavera is a skull. And what it symbolizes is the beauty of our ancestors. So yeah, they're not with us anymore, but they're not scary. It's not something that's sad. This is something that we're celebrating their lives. We're celebrating everything that they were and everything that they then helped us become. You know, we wouldn't be here without them. And that's something we celebrate. So we decorate them, the skulls, really, really beautifully. They're painted. They're very colorful. Everything has to be full of color. It's not somber. It's not sad. This is a happy type of tradition. So we have calaveras, which are skulls. If you see skeletons, those are called calacas. It's a little bit different. Calaveras is just skull. Things about calaveras. These are actually more recent addition to our ofrendas. In 1910, an etcher named Jose Posada, he did an etching of somebody that he called Calavera Katrina. And it was a drawing of her. And it was supposed to be some sort of socio-political comment on Mexican women. But it ended up being adopted because then a more famous artist called Diego Rivera, who was the husband of Frida Kahlo, he put Katrina, the woman, Calavera, into a big mural, and it became this big symbol of Mexican Day of the Dead. So that's something that only started because of around 1910, and then in 1947 is when Diego Rivera did his mural, and it became a big thing. So calaveras are a newer addition to our traditions, but that's something that the Mexicans do. We absorb things that are around us and use them as part of our traditions. So how Day of the Dead differs from Halloween is the next outcome. Well, they're completely different holidays. I would say things that they have similar are that they use costumes, and you'll see lots of parades and things in Mexico, and it's a big celebration. So that's what they have in common. Things that are different is that Day of the Dead is more about our ancestors and honoring everything that they were, honoring the people who have passed in our lives, remembering the happy memories, remembering everything that helps to make you who you are. And it's not about being scary. So Halloween is more trick or treat, costumes, scariness. That's not part of Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is very, very colorful, very, very happy, and full of imagination. Let's see, anything else that I need to talk about? You have to design a calavera for me is one of your challenges. So for that, I want you to think about hope. I want you to think about joy. I want you to think about color. All of those things are important. To make an ofrenda, you do not have to do something huge like this. I mean, this is really big in my house at the end of my hallway. You don't have to do anything that big. Oh, somebody's having internet issues. Okay, we'll watch on replay later. Sorry about that. Izzy, my fish has a Day of the Dead ornament. That's great. I love that. We actually have some Day of the Dead animal ornaments as well. I don't have them on my ofrenda yet, but we do have some. To make one, I have seen some amazing creativity come in from you guys. So I have seen things like Lego ofrendas. That's fine. I've seen paper crafts where you've made little paper boxes and then put things on top of that, really small things. I've seen Minecraft ofrendas, which have been amazing. There's lots of different ways you do it. You don't have to do something like this. It can be however you want to celebrate your ancestors or the people in your life who you want to remember. So just like me, I have pictures everywhere. I have things that they liked. So we liked music, and mariachi music was huge in our family growing up, and I used to listen to it all the time. So I'll be playing that. Flowers and pumpkins. I'll have their food out. I will have drinks out for them. All of those things are things that you can incorporate, and you can do it however you want. So like I said, I've seen Lego, I've seen paper crafting, I've seen Minecraft used. Anything like that is absolutely fine to use to make your own. And then find a recipe for pan de muerto. And if you want to give it a go to see if you like it. Like I said, it's really good dipped in hot chocolate. Let's see. The last things I'll talk about are some of the symbols that I have here. So talked a little bit about the flowers, cempasúchil. The other things that I have here are your monarch butterflies. I have lots of calaveras out. I'll have their drinks out. You'll see I have different types of calaveras. I have a house to bring them up to my house. And I guess the last element that I need to talk to you about are candles. So we do light candles for this celebration. So for it, we use, we say earth, wind, fire, water. So our earth tends to be our food. So food is considered your earth elements. And I'll use tamales, tortillas, beans, rice. I might make empanadas, which are, my husband says they're kind of like a pasty, I think, except inside of ours, we put pumpkin. And they're sweet. They're cinnamon sweet sugar. So I'll make food, and that'll be earth element. For the fire element, we light candles. So for me, I don't keep candles burning all night long because that seems dangerous because I have pets and things. So I use these during the day, and then at night I use the battery operated ones, and that will stay lit the entire time it's Day of the Dead, so that it's always lit up for them. I also have a container here of fairy lights that will be on for Day of the Dead. So all of that will be lit and done, and then at night I use, yeah, like a Cornish pasty, something like that, except instead of like meat or potatoes or anything inside, ours is pumpkin, spiced pumpkin, cinnamon, and lots of brown sugar. So fire is candles, water. I put a glass of water out, but I also give them their favorite drink. So I will have things like, I already have one out. I will have things like margaritas and different types of alcohol for my men. So that will all be out, and that's my water element. And then the last thing is wind. So for wind, we tend to use flags that would fly in the wind. Mine are huge and they go outside. So some of this will be outside, leading them to the window so that they can come in. So this is called papel picado. And in Mexico, this is a folk art tradition. They take pieces of paper and they cut it out to different shapes. So that's birds. I have a lot that are flowers for the Semposhusho. So there's flowers. Unfortunately, mine aren't paper simply because of the weather here. The weather would just destroy them in seconds. So mine are plastic, but they still came from Mexico. My mom went and got them from me. There's a Mexican store in San Antonio that sells all of the folk art stuff. So this one is plastic so that it can withstand the wind and rain here. It's not so much a big thing in San Antonio where I grew up because it's a desert. So it doesn't rain that often. So they can put paper stuff outside. So this is an example of papel picado, and that's your wind element. So believe that's about all the elements of my ofrenda that I can show you. If you have any questions, please let me know in comments or put something on social media. Let me just bring up my slide again. See if I can remember how to do it. There we go. I'll come back down to you guys. So the challenges for you guys are to make an ofrenda that uses earth, wind, fire, and water. And can you try to make pan de muerte and tell me its symbolism? So the symbolism on top of it with the pieces of dough that you decorate it with are the bones. So we're honoring our loved ones. The orange scent is because it's something that we believe that they can smell is oranges, and the color orange is something that will lead them to our homes. Can you describe what Day of the Dead is and where it's celebrated? So don't forget, it's not only Mexico, it's also Southern United States. Can you design a calavera? And can you explain how Day of the Dead is different from Halloween? I can't wait to see these submissions come in, y'all. And I guess I will see you again at the end of the week for those of you who are subscribed to lessons, where we're going to start the natural disaster stuff. So that starts at the end of this week. Again, any questions, leave them on social media for me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great day, guys. Bye.